We have early ADP fallers that you should buy. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Wednesday, January 7th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by the returning Scott White, and we are here to look at ADP fallers. This is comparing NFBC ADP from the month of November to December. So over the past month, these names have been falling down, and the first one up is Corey Seager, who is down from 91 to 106. So, Scott, people are tired of the injuries. They've had enough.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, I get it because I've been burned by also taking Corey Seager in round 4 or 5. But I thought where he was originally there, 91, was still way too low. Like, I tried to correct. They're going far beyond what I was doing with Corey Seager in my rankings. Even as a player who's played only about 115, 120 games the last 3 years, he's still reaching the 30 homer threshold. I mean, he is as good of a power hitter as you'll find at shortstop and a long track record of doing that. And so, particularly if it's a league that isn't quite so deep as maybe the 15 teamers that this ADP is geared toward, but, a more typical sized league where you can actually get a replacement shortstop of some worth, and you combine that with what Corey Seager is going to provide, like, you might get 40 homers from that position this year. And you know what? There's a chance. He's done it before. There's a chance Corey Seager might stay healthy for more like 135, 140 games, and then you'll definitely have a steal. I have him more around 70th in my rankings. So I think this is, if you can get him outside the top 100, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, especially in shallower head-to-head points leagues, too, which is his better format. If he's anywhere close to this, which I don't think he will be, I'm definitely looking to jump on Corey Seager in those types of leagues. We have 3 big-name hitters who are dropping as well. Mookie Betts down from 47 to 59. Rafael Devers from 53 to 64. Austin Riley from 70 to 80. Scott, 3 big names that we've talked about a lot for the past decade or so. Are you looking to buy the dip on any or all of those 3?
I have them ranked, all 3 of them, about a couple rounds higher than they're going here, at least by the recent ADP. So, yeah, I guess I'm buying the dip on all 3. I think part of it is just, okay, when other players are moving up, somebody has to get pushed down. In these 3, Mookie Betts, Austin Riley, and Rafael Devers, they're all coming off disappointing seasons, one of their worst in recent memory. So they're just, and people are just tired of them. They're just like unsexy picks right now. And so nobody's looking to elevate them. They're naturally falling by other players being elevated rather than anything happening recently to change their value. And I think there's reason to be wary of all 3. Mookie Betts, obviously disappointing year. He's 33 now. That always comes with concerns. But to see the glass half full, the way he finished the season, final 47 games for Mookie Betts, he slashed 317, 376, 516. And it wasn't just the top line numbers that improved. Average exit velocity was a couple miles per hour higher during that 47 game stretch. So to me, that was pretty strong indication that what he was battling, what he was struggling with earlier, dated back to that preseason illness and all the weight he lost. He just did not look like, physically, Mookie Betts did not look like himself for most of the season. And I think he got back to form there at the end. Obviously, still one of the prime hitters in the best lineup in baseball. So I think at this steep discount, I think that's a pretty easy call. Rafael Devers, of course, theoretically still in the prime of his career. His numbers after going to the Giants, the batting average especially, got worse. And because San Francisco has a reputation for not being such a hitter-friendly venue, especially for left-handed hitters, I think maybe people are tying Rafael Devers' drop-off to that. But if you look at the actual power production at Oracle Park, it was fine. Really, the main thing that changed was the strikeout rate exploded And I don't know that we could tie that to venue. I kind of see it as a fluke for Rafael Devers. I think the track record is strong enough, and he's still in the prime, like I said, prime of his career. I think he deserves benefit of the doubt. Austin Riley, kind of the same thing, still in the prime of his career, a great track record. I understand in his case, it was back-to-back years of underwhelming production, but a lot of that is tied to the timing of injuries, because he was taking off in 2024 before suffering a season-ending injury. Like, he looked like he was back on track from a slow start. He's always been kind of a guy who starts the year cold and picks it up midseason. He was taken off in 2024. Then came the injury. Of course, he missed a lot of last year with injury as well. I still think the exit velocity data is strong. And I still think he's the cheapest of the three on this list. He's eligible of the three at the weakest position, third base. And so given that, pick 80 for a guy who has shown very recently second round upside and is in the prime of his career, I think that's an easier gamble to take at third base, where it's going to be hard to come away with high-end production anyway.
You're right, Scott. These are not sexy picks, but to quote Steve Carell in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, I'm not trying to be sexy, man. I'm trying to win my league. And I think these three could probably help you do that. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
The new era of UFC on Paramount Plus comes out swinging. The highlight machine collides with the Liverpool phenom, and the Hall of Famer returns to take on the bantamweight champion. UFC 324, Saturday, January 24th, only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in FBT Express. We're taking a look at ADP fallers that we are trying to buy the dip on if this price remains. And next up, we have Ozzie Albies, who is down from pick 160 to 176. And I think, Scott, people are scared off by this wrist injury that he had, that he was dealing with the first half of the season, and then suffered a fractured hamate bone in the final month. Unfortunately, he was starting to pick things up, but I get why people are worried. At 176, that feels like enough of a discount.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's sort of what I was saying for Austin Riley. Coincidentally, they happen to play on the same team. If you're just looking at the numbers from the last 2 years, it's going to be pretty scary, but you have to look at them in the full context of the injuries they were dealing with. I do think Albies is a more concerning case with Riley, because for him, the underlying data has never been particularly strong, for one thing. And two, the injury he suffered at the end of last year, broken hamate bone, that has a tendency to have lingering effects. At least in the short term, it can sap players of their power. It doesn't always happen, but considering we just saw with another hand/wrist injury for Albies, him suffer from a loss of power for like half a season, I'd worry he'd be even more susceptible to those effects from the hamate bone. That being said, it is a whole off season of rest. And we did see before the broken hamate bone signs of him looking like himself again. And I think he is still that player. I think he is still the early round second baseman we've known him to be for most of his career, still in his late 20s, so prime of his career. It's just, particularly given the lingering effects we saw from a different hand-wrist injury last year, you have to be wary of it happening again with that broken hamate bone late in the year. That being said, second base, you're not going to get stud production there. There aren't many sources of it. So if you can get Ozzie Albies at a discount for the upside, is it worth that little bit of a gamble? I think it is in most cases. Of course, the deeper the league, the less likely I am to risk it.
You know what? If Ozzie Albies is healthy enough to swim in those big old fish tanks, probably healthy enough to swing a bat, and we'll learn more.
That's what I'm thinking. If you haven't seen the videos, they're hysterical, so check them out.
Last name on this list is Jonathan Aranda, who is down from 171 to 187. Somebody, Scott, that you have long loved, and now he's falling down even further. Are you buying?
Yeah, I don't really get this.
Me neither.
No, I think there's already reason to buy the dip on Aranda even before this latest dip, because his breakout season, it was clearly looking like a breakout season last year, the long-awaited breakout. He made the All-Star team. But then he got hurt again, missed most of the second half. So he doesn't have the big totals we were hoping to see. And there are platoon concerns. His numbers against left-handers are underwhelming. The Rays are a team that likes to platoon heavily. Sure, he could fall victim to that. Maybe he's just getting squeezed out at a fairly deep position like first base. But, as late as he's been going recently, that's more like your corner infield spot for a batting average standout who I think has 25 homer upside. I think it's a great pick. The data loves him. Obviously, it looked like he took a step forward. Let's just hope for improved health and consistent at bats for Aranda, both of which I think are a safer bet than not.
All right, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again later this week. Bye-bye.